Welcome back to Project 613. Today we will learn 5 mitzvot. The first 2 have to do with guarding the temple, and the last 3 have to do with a special anointing oil that was used for the high priest and for certain Jewish kings. So when it comes to guarding the holy temple, the Torah tells us that Aaron was commanded that you and your sons should guard the tabernacle in the desert. And this was a mitzvah that was given to the tribe of Levi, to both the Kohanim and to the Levim, for all generations, to stand guard and patrol the holy temple all night long. Now, this was not done because of the fear of thieves. Rather, this was done as a sign of respect for the holy temple. This would be a display of the honor and the glory of the temple, that it should be guarded all night long. As the Medrash famously says, one cannot compare a palace which has guards watching it to a palace that does not have guards watching it. And what is a greater palace than the Holy Temple in Jerusalem? The Mishnah tells us the exact locations where both the priests and the Levites would stand on guard. The priests would guard from 3 locations inside the building, and the Levites would guard from 21 specific locations around the building from the outside. These guards have to stay alert and awake all night, and if they were ever caught sleeping on their job, then they would be punished. Their clothes would be burnt, and they would receive other forms of punishment as well. So it was a good idea not to sleep on the job. This is the first mitzvah, and together with this we have a parallel prohibition, a negative mitzvah, where we are forbidden from neglecting this mitzvah that we're given to guard the holy temple. So if the temple is not guarded, in addition to missing out on the positive mitzvah, we have also violated a negative prohibition, as the Torah tells us clearly that we shall be careful with this mitzvah of guarding the holy temple. The next 3 mitzvot have to do with the special anointing oil. The Torah tells us that Moses was commanded in the desert to make a special holy anointing oil for all generations. And this means that there's a special recipe, a special formula which should be used in order to create an anointing oil that was used to anoint the high priest by pouring some of this oil on his head. It was also used to anoint certain kings, not all kings, but certain kings from the Davidic dynasty would have this special oil poured on their head. In the first generation, when Moses made this oil, it was also used to anoint the tabernacle itself and the various vessels that were used in it. But this was only a one-time thing. In future generations, like in the Holy Temple in Jerusalem, the building and the vessels were not anointed with oil. There was a specific recipe of how this was done. It was made with a mixture of spices poured into olive oil, and as mentioned, it was made one time by Moses in the desert, and that was it. Moses made a certain amount, and that lasted for all times. That was taken with the Jewish people into the land of Israel, and that lasted all the way through. We have a tradition that when Mashiach comes, this original oil, anointing oil that was produced by Moses, will return as well. And now we have another 2 mitzvot, another 2 prohibitions associated with this mitzvah of the anointing oil. One is that it is forbidden for us to duplicate the exact recipe, the exact formula. The verse says, "You shall not make anything like it according to its composition," which basically means that it would be forbidden for someone to use the exact same recipe and to try and recreate the exact same type of anointing oil. And the last mitzvah that we learned today is that the Torah tells us it's forbidden to use this oil for anyone besides for the specific people and for the specific purposes that it is intended for. And that is, as mentioned, only for the high priests and for certain kings. So, firstly, it had to be kings only from the Davidic dynasty, and even then, not all kings would have the special oil poured on them. If, for example, a king would inherit the throne from his father, he would not have to have the oil poured on him. Only if it was a king that didn't inherit the throne from his father, or even if he did inherit the throne, but if there was some sort of opposition, if there was some sort of argument on the legitimacy of him inheriting the throne, then once resolved, the anointing oil would be poured on him to demonstrate that he in fact is the king who is worthy to take on the position. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.